So hello and welcome to the Lewis Nichols Show, and I'm excited to bring on my next guest today. So let's say hello to Janet. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Really good, thank you. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. And I know it's kind of an exciting time because I've seen on social media your reaction to obviously reaching the charts. And I mean, everybody's got right behind you, which must just be the most amazing feeling because it's kind of you've been doing this since 2011, and now you've reached the charts.
Yeah, it's honestly, I know people say it all the time, and they're like, "This means so much to me." I'm like, "This is 13 years worth of this means so much to me." But I do believe in, the universe's timing, because I've never felt so much more like together as a person and more confident and more happy and more proud of a piece of music, a collection of music actually with the album. So I feel like it's the best timing, and I've just been totally floored by the response and just the rallying of support behind it. It's insane.
Do you know what's incredible? Obviously, I first became aware of you like many people from the X Factor, and listening to your music and more so your recent stuff. When you listen to a song, you like the melody and you like the voice and you kind of just listen to it. But with your music, you really get kind of caught by your lyrics and the connection you have with the lyrics, and it kind of gives you an understanding of okay, like as an artist, there's something there in a sense of it you can tell it comes from within. So then I did some research and then realized you did the documentary with the
Yes.
BBC, and that gave me an insight of wow, you've been through so much. There's a reason why your songs connect with people because you're so open and transparent. So do you feel at the moment as an artist that you're so authentically you?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent tens of thousands of pounds on fixing myself over the years, The song is kind of about just me playing with the fact that I have borderline personality disorder, which is a really hard condition to have, but I know that so many people have it, and I just wanted to have a song that was not depressing about it and just have a bit of fun, because I'm a firm believer in laughing at your pain takes a lot of its power away. So I have shared a lot of myself with the world, shall we say. And I think, having a TV upbringing and, sharing on a national platform just kind of led me naturally into doing that. And as someone who struggled, yeah, with alcoholism and other things, when I would see someone talking about it and being vulnerable and just being open, it really helped me along my journey. So I just wanted to kind of keep that ball rolling of honesty and sharing so that, even if one person hears the message and it gets them to go get help, I think that's worth getting out of bed for.
What was it that made you kind of say, do you know what, this is the right time? Because you posted the video and you were so open and transparent, and I know it helped a lot of people, but what felt right at that time to say, do you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell people what I'm going through and what I've been through.
Yeah, so my last album was called Confessional, and it was an album and a book. And the songs were like highly metaphorical, and the book kind of unlocked it. And I wrote chapter by chapter in chronological order of all the things I'd been through. And I just poured myself into the pages of just like, the awful events in my life. But after every awful event, there was always like a silver lining, and it was always music, and it was always the thing to get me out of bed. And I wanted to share my story in particular about alcoholism because when I got sober, quite, oh my God, quite a long time ago now, like 9 years ago, um, I didn't have, there wasn't a lot of representation in the media. Like I couldn't really find a young woman talking about it. And not that I expect people to take the message from me, but if I open up about it, someone who they might like might open up about it. It's like a domino effect. And I think as well, I felt very misunderstood, because I've suffered with psychological issues since I was a child. Even though I had a very lovely upbringing, my parents are amazing and all of that kind of stuff. It was not anything on them. Um, I I've always struggled, and when I went into TV, people kind of mistook my shyness. Like they thought I was shy, but I was actually incredibly self-loathing, and I did not like myself, and quite frankly, I didn't want to walk this earth. And as someone who came from that and made it to this point in my life where I don't like curse the sun for rising another day, and to be grateful to be alive and to see what it's like on the other side of life when I very many times almost lost mine to alcohol and other things. I just wanted to remind people that if it did end there, I would have just ended my life in the sadness and the pain and the addiction. Whereas I got to get to the other side where life, even though it's hard, life's always hard. I am still so grateful for just existing. And like, I mean, for me as a sober person, like every day I make it through sober is a blessing in and of itself. So I just wanted to pass my message on to anyone who was willing to hear it, you know.
It was such a good watch, the documentary, because you were to hear you reflect essentially, and kind of you addressed what your family went through, and you
Mm-hmm.
kind of put yourself in their shoes, and you were reflecting how that must have felt for them. You know, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what was going to happen to you, whether they're going to lose their, you know, their daughter. So it was so eye-opening to watch, and I had no clue, you know, that you were going through this. You know, I believe it's borderline personality, but bipolar as well. So you're going through so much, and you were talking with other people that are going through it similar. So do you look back at that documentary as something you're very proud of, in a sense of that you could be so open and you could interact with others that are going through the same?
I just look back at it with gratitude to be trusted with such a serious message and such a hard topic. As, like as you know, someone who's not even 30 yet, to stand in front of a documentary of that like height. I was just very grateful for the opportunity and grateful that, you know, they heard my story and they thought it was something worth sharing. And I felt very privileged even just to be talking to any of the people in that documentary. Like we talked to people who not only suffered with alcoholism, but people that have lost family members to it. And I think I needed that experience because it's very easy to forget how quickly you can fall back into it. That hearing that message from people reiterated to me how easy it is, and also just what a blessing each day is, and also hearing it, them telling me their stories of their family members really, you know, hit home again about the pain I put my family through, and they don't deserve that. So it was just a very, for want of a better word, a very sobering
Yeah.
experience for me.
I just love that you've used that. You've now, like, you're doing everything on your terms, you know, as an artist, as with your music, it's all on your terms. And watching the videos and that level of infection that you've got when you're thanking people, I mean, you were genuinely taken back that you went into the charts. I mean, that it was just such a magical thing to watch. What are your predictions for the album? Because I know that everyone's backing you, so I'm guessing we're looking to get this to the top, right?
Gosh, it's so hard. When I was putting this song out, I'm signed to an independent label in America, but they've been working with me since I was a teenager, and they're like family, truly like family. And like no one really believed in this song, but I was like, I love this song. I think it's great. It does the PR for me. It says I'm doing country music. Cool. Is it the best song on the album? No. But is it going to be fun to promo? Absolutely. So I was just like, I'm not hearing any of the negative Nancy's. We're just going with this song. And I think for me, it was a nice feeling because I'm like, hey, look, I was right.
So wait,
But hmm?
no, I was gonna say they weren't behind the song, and you were the one that said, "Look, we need to release this."
They had other songs in mind, and I just had a gut feeling from the very beginning to go with this song. Because like the natural way this goes, by the way, is like you put out your first song from the album, and it does kind of, you're kind of reawakening people to be like, hey, I'm releasing now, I'm putting out music. So we really expected like just the hardcore like fans to get behind the song, right? That was it. Even I couldn't have predicted that it would have gone as far as it did. And it's truly like when I say thank you online, I'm always like, is my message of actual gratitude getting across? Because I said it in the first video where it got into the chart. like, doing this for so long, and even though I'm very confident and I do believe in myself and I work really hard, uh, there is that feeling of doing it for so long where you're like, is anything I do ever just gonna hit, And it was just the best feeling in the world, and it just gave me this like second wind to just really just put my whole self into pushing this every song that comes out on this album.
For you, obviously, you went on the X Factor, and with a show like that, it gives you this kind of fame almost overnight. I mean, you're catapulted out there. So when you finish a show like the X Factor, there's almost essentially a pressure on you that your music needs to deliver, it needs to chart like everybody else that's been on there. And for you, that wasn't the case after the show. So did you ever have a moment where you kind of sat back and thought, you know what, I'm giving up with this, it's not for me, or did you just want to do this for you?
So when I left the show, I was offered record deals. But every one of those deals, yeah, good money. Um, but it was kind of like, we've got an album here ready to go. We just need you to sing it. And for me, I was such a stubborn kid. I was like, I'm gonna go make my own album with what I want to write about. And if it sucks, it sucks. And maybe I shouldn't do music. Maybe I should just be a singer. And I declined them all, and I did like a crowdfund. This is before crowdfunding was even a real thing, because so much so I was on CNN talking about it, as a teenager. And I've always just kind of wanted to like live and die by my own sword. And it comes with its own trials and tribulations. Like, I have a skeleton crew. My team are tiny. We are not on major label budgets or anything like this, but it's just one thing we have is just love of the game, and we're hardworking and we're willing to, push. But yeah, I mean, I've got to live this experience very differently to most people who left the show or have done the show. Because it's hard to explain, but basically, when you're on the show, that you have access to their media budget, their promotion budget is how people get to know you and see you and care about you. When you leave the show, you don't have access to that budget anymore, and that's why people always think like, oh, that person just fell off the face of the earth, and it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't have 10 million pounds to spend to release a song. I'm so sorry. um but it's been a learning process, and I feel like, again, like, I've been gifted this experience at the right time in my life where I've never felt more confident and more just hungry for life in general and just willing to have a good time, because this whole album was made because I've loved country music my whole life. I always wanted to end up in country, and I just wrote this album with a good time in mind. And obviously there's sad songs and things on there because I have, a lot of big feelings, but for the first time in my life, I've been happy and comfortable enough in myself that I was able to write authentically upbeat songs. So for me, this whole experience is so exciting because I get to do big music instead of just what I'm known for, being ballads and things.
You're such a good example to people in the sense of just sticking to being true to yourself, whether whatever that is that you do, to stay true to yourself and not kind of adapt for something, to get something quicker or to get some chart success. You remained yourself, and now by doing that, you're getting that chart success. And I know that the album, I mean, the anticipation behind this album is incredible because I've seen all the comments, I've seen the stuff that gets posted on the socials, and everyone's excited for this. So will we also see some live shows or a tour?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process of figuring that out. I want to, it will happen. I will do a UK tour. It'll be, I think, my fifth headline UK tour. But before I even get there, I'm just having fun releasing songs, making videos, interacting with everyone, having a fun time doing it. That the tour can come whenever the tour comes. It'll be an inevitability. It's going to happen. I definitely want to do a support tour before I do my own tour, because I toured with Russell Crowe in Australia last year, and I learned how much fun it is to be a support act. I'm like, hey, you haven't paid to see me. I'm here to have a good time. Like,
Russell
it's so
Crowe.
much more fun. Yeah.
Oh, That's what a name just to drop out there. Yeah, last year in
I
America,
know, I
Russell
hate it.
Crowe.
It's like I joke about it all the time. I'm like Russell Crowe name drop. Yeah, very bizarre. Like how we've somehow developed a friendship, like in the most bizarre way. But he has been so kind to me and very supportive of just me. He gave me that opportunity to go on tour. He gave me an opportunity in January of last year to go out and do some shows out there with him, supporting him, and honestly, coolest dude to travel around with. Talk about stories, you know, he's been really sweet. But from that, I'm like, I want to do a support slot again because that's really fun. And I am supporting him in Dublin again in July in the Gaiety Theatre as well. So I get to catch up and pick up where I left off on the last tour.
Now, people will be screaming if I don't ask this because you just mentioned talk about stories. Is there one that sticks out that you enjoyed the most from Russell, or anything that you guys shared together when you were traveling?
Oh, dude, I think there's a funny memory that really puts everything into perspective. His partner, I get on really well with. We're very similar, very bubbly, like chatty girls, right? And he let me and my guitar player ride on his private jet. And before the environmentalists get really angry, the only reason he flies on a private jet is because he has a puppy. He doesn't like private jets, but he wants to take his puppy
Yeah.
with him on you know, and on this plane, I was sat always playing word games on my phone, and his missus was doing the actual paper ones. So we ended up, him and his missus did one, and then me and my guitar player did one, and we were all trying to see who could get it first. But it always ended up the same, where it was like, Dad, what's a three-letter word for? Because he's just so smart. He's just so smart. Like, yeah, but he's also a laugh. He's very good fun. He loves a good time. And, you know, it was just an honor to get to spend time with someone as, you know, clearly as kind to take someone like me on tour. So
What do you know when you say someone like me? Do you see like yourself as like not deserving to be on tour? Because I mean, your voice and music is just incredible.
I really appreciate it, but it's more that, you know, I couldn't have grown up further from show business. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Ireland to a very working class family. Um, you know, in the middle, like I can't express how far away from the notion of having music as a career was, you know. Um, so when I say someone like me, I mean someone who grew up from nothing, um, now pursuing a career in an industry that just felt like a dream, you know.
And on a jet with Russell Crowe. I mean, I did not expect that story to come from this interview. I mean, it's incredible. You also mentioned that you want to get back into obviously doing a support before you tour yourself. Is there somebody that you have in mind that you think, do you know what, I'd love to go on tour with them? Somebody that you kind of look at their music and you connect with?
Oh, there's loads, but I have to be realistic. Like I am, one sec. Yeah, I have to be realistic when it comes to like pursuing options, you know. But also I'm a fan of so much music that I could list about 50 different people to want to go on tour with. But I think top of that list probably would be like Chris Stapleton, you know, and not only for his music, because his music is phenomenal. And I've been a fan of him since he was in the Steel Drivers. So that's like 2015. But he's everything that I think a music star should be. He's family orientated. He tours with his wife, who's now his backing singer. He takes his kids with him. If he's got a day off, he's at a boat fishing with his dad. I'm like, that is what I want. Because like my goal as an artist, and this sounds so silly, my goal is to like get to a place where I can buy a house in Ireland near my family, and be successful enough to do that. Because when you're successful, people work around where you are, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm still at the point where I have to live in London to kind of be near everything. So I just want to go back home, buy a horse, and then, you know, just
Well,
travel the world doing music, you know, and see my family.
would you ever do Eurovision Song Contest?
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
Really?
Yeah,
Have
I
you?
don't see, I don't take myself seriously. I think people forget this all the time. I'm mostly here for a silly, goofy time, right? And if someone's like, you want to do Eurovision, I'm like, sure. why not? That sounds like great crack. Like, let me do it, you know?
Have you ever been approached? Because I just would have assumed you would have, because you're one of the greatest voices in Ireland. I could just see you doing that. So surely you must have been asked, or there's been conversations.
There was whispers, but I think I was asked more so for writing. A song for it was the closest I've got to doing it, which I took. This is so weird. I took it as much more of a compliment because I was like, "Oh, you think my writing's good enough to like write a Eurovision song? Thank you." But I mean, you know, if they wanted me to do it, I would totally consider it. You know, absolutely. I couldn't see why not.
Well, I'm using this clip and I'm sending it on every little fan forum that I'm on for Eurovision. But we're absolutely loving Emotional Rodeo. It's so, that, like you said, you listen to the lyrics and then you've got the beat of the song. It's like, hang on a minute, the lyrics should be on a sadder song. And I love what you've done with it because it does make you realize it doesn't have to be so down. When people are
Yeah.
going through that, you don't have to have a sad song to feel that emotion. You can actually say, do you know what, we're going through this, but let's try and actually bring some fun and positivity. And that's what you've done with it. So I think credit to you, and I love what you're doing right now. And yeah, just
Thank you.
we need more of it.
Dude, well, hopefully not too much because they'll probably have more budget than me.
Janet, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've wanted you on for a really long time, so I'm so chuffed that this has happened today. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you so much for giving me your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.